Welcome to Generations. My name is Beverly Crosby. Today we have a little more serious topic. It's substance use trends within our youth and how it's been changing, what's new in our younger generation. So with that, let's meet our co-host and our guest. Hello, everyone. I am so happy to see smiling faces today. We have such an interesting topic. First of all, I would like to welcome Elaine Addison. Elaine, this is her second time as being our co-host. I'm really excited to have you here today.
Excited to be here.
And David, how are you? Busy?
Okay, I appear to be the token male today, and I'll do my very best to represent all males from age 9 to 90. So
that's a big role.
It is.
Well, and Bob Johnston couldn't be here today. Normally he's one of our co-hosts. So David, the weight's on you. And with that, I'd like to, first of all, before I introduce, we have two guests today. I'd like to put a special thank you out to Helen Swanson. She's the director of the Public Health Department in the Polk County community for the Polk County Community Services. And I met her at an Apple Fest with my grandchildren, and they had a booth there, and she and I were talking about some of the projects that are going on, and she arranged to have our two guests come today and explain about the projects they are working on. So Helen, thank you very much for helping to put this together. We really appreciate that. And with that, I'd like to introduce our guest, Yolanda Candler, and Yolanda, I'm going to get that right. Yolanda is a coordinator for drug-free communities. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And then we have Felicia Fisk. And Felicia is a coordinator for the Western Wisconsin Tobacco-Free Alliance. Welcome, Felicia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay. So let's go to the first question. The topic is substance use trends in the youth. And each of our guests have a department, an area, actually a project, I think is what you call it, that they are in charge of. And I would like to ask each of you to explain what your project is about, how it's funded, and what your goals are. Yolanda, would you like to start?
Sure, that sounds great. So I am the Drug-Free Communities Project Coordinator for Polk County. So Drug-Free Communities is a grant that's provided federally. So it's partnered with the Office of National Drug Control Policy and also with the CDC. So this is a grant that really takes care to, protect our youth and really help build community collaboration between the community and then also with different prevention providers to address substance use in youth. So with my grant specifically in Polk County, we're really aiming to focus on reducing and preventing youth use for alcohol, methamphetamine, and marijuana.
Okay, interesting. Okay, and Felicia?
Yep. So I am the coordinator for Western Wisconsin Tobacco-Free Alliance, and our alliance is funded through the state of Wisconsin, their tobacco prevention and control program. And our alliance actually contains 7 counties within Western Wisconsin, including Burnett, Barron, Pepin, Pierce, Polk, Rusk, and St. Croix counties. And our overall mission is to prevent, reduce exposure to, and eliminate the use of tobacco and nicotine products throughout all of our Alliance counties. And we do this through collaborations with community members, policy work, education, and informational service efforts as well. And we are allowed to focus with our grant on all ages. So Yolanda is limited mostly to youth, but we can focus on ages all the way up to any age, really.
Okay, well, Felicia and Yolanda, I know that part of what you do is collect data, either through survey research or other kinds of research. Are there things you can share with our viewers that will help us understand the scope of the problem or the kinds of things you've been finding as you investigate these issues?
Yeah, so one of the first key data points that we have is that we recently conducted our own survey in Polk County, and we found that respondents saw that methamphetamine, tobacco use, and alcohol use are the primary concerns that are impacting our community. These percentages were pretty high. They were relatively in like the 60% range for the respondent, stating that those were their most concerned substances in the community. Kind of more specifically to Polk County with alcohol use, we have seen an increase in reports of students, especially high school students in Polk County, stating that they have used and tried alcohol. Looking at the YRBS, their Youth Risk Behavior Survey, specifically for Polk County in the state of Wisconsin, we see that 52% of youth have indicated that they have ever used alcohol. So that could look at any point in time in their life that they have tried an alcohol beverage.
And just to piggyback off our YRBS from 2020 for Polk County, for the use of vaping products amongst our middle school and high school students, it was reported that 33% of our students have tried a vaping device, and 15% of our students are currently using these tobacco products. And then just to broaden it more as a US-based statistic, recently the National Youth Tobacco Survey was released by the FDA and the CDC, and it was found that over 2.5 million middle school and high school students in the US are using e-cigarettes today. And 1 in 4 of these users are currently using them on a daily basis.
Okay, and is there any reason to think these numbers are perhaps underreporting insofar as if it's a self-report situation, even if people are guaranteed anonymity, they may not own up to the fact that they're consuming any of these things? I mean, do you think the numbers are in that sense a little bit lower than the reality of the situation or not?
So for these reports, so you always have that risk of bias, especially with self-reported surveys. So there's always that chance, but we do look at and screen the surveys and try our best to make sure that we're really trying to close the gap between some of those potential inconsistencies. So I would say the data is pretty reliable, and it's a very good look at like looking specifically of like what's happening in our community.
And I agree with that as well, especially since we do, with my alliance, we do work within our schools. So we are able to see what is happening just to briefly when we are working with our youth prevention groups.
So you had mentioned that a lot of the young people are trying alcohol and nicotine. Do you feel that a lot of them that are trying marijuana, that it's kind of a catapult to maybe a stronger drug? Are you seeing that at all in your organization?
Yeah, so there is a bit of a risk. So, you know, we do have kind of like that idea of, you know, the gateway drugs where previously it was thought to be alcohol, tobacco, and marijuana. There's always a risk where things could be escalating, especially with our youth. But what we're seeing more often is that marijuana and tobacco have really kind of come together, especially with our youth populations, because marijuana products like the illegal side of marijuana, so Delta 9 THC, or also with Delta 8, which is legal in our state for Wisconsin, can also be used in the vaping devices, which is really coming across into the tobacco as well, because they could interchange it between nicotine and then also with, you know, those cannabinoids or those marijuana or cannabis products.
So otherwise, I mean, what you're saying, then they've got different paraphernalia too, that they can hide the certain drugs in.
Yep.
Yes.
That,
Okay.
So, you know, years back in our time, it was very common for everybody to work, take a break, go to the break room, grab a cigarette. People would go to a restaurant, there might be a bar at the other end, and people would be smoking their cigarettes, cigars. So our age group is very, very conditioned to smoking. And I know we're talking about the youth today, but do you have some stats on the older generation too, as far as using nicotine? They're probably not out there use vaping, but.
Yeah, so the most recent data, we have seen a decrease in adult use for tobacco products by about 7%. But with that decrease, the youth use has just skyrocketed over the last several years.
Would you describe vaping? Because there are some viewers that may not know what that is.
So vaping is the use of an electronic cigarette, which is I actually have one that I can show you. So this is an electronic cigarette right here. It's a device that is chargeable, battery operated, and you put a pod full of e-juice, which when you inhale or turn on this device, it is heated, and then you inhale the vapors and then you exhale it like you would a cigarette.
Aren't they showing that these vapes either exploding or causing lung issues? Have you seen or heard about that?
Yep, so they do cause issues with users' lungs. Most commonly, it's called popcorn lung, which Yolanda, if I'm missing something, jump in here. She is my medical statistic person for sure. So they will actually cause like boils on your alveoli or bronchioles. Yeah, bronchioles, sorry, Yolanda.
Yeah.
And so they're big blisters that affect your breathing. Go ahead, Yolanda, you can explain more.
yeah, so typically a lot of people tend to think that vaping is a safer way to consume tobacco products. That's been a pretty common theme that we've seen. And especially with that, people typically think that the vapor that's coming out of those devices, so like the device that Felicia showed, they think that it's unharmful, when in reality, that's an aerosol where it contains many different chemicals. So there's chemicals that like acrolein or different other agents in it, and then it really causes that damage within the lungs. And then we're seeing other side effects as well. But the most primary concern is really having kind of that popcorn lung, which is the most damaging. And it is really comparable to tobacco products and like kind of like what you may have thought of typically of like when someone would use cigarettes long term, they have more of that blacker looking lung that was also damaged. It's very comparable then to the popcorn lung, where it looks more like popcorn versus that tar like picture image.
This is all cheery news, kind of makes you want to go, ooh. But
I know.
in terms of on the solution end, obviously there's been a lot of research done on public health campaigns and what seems to work and what doesn't. What's your understanding of the best approach to take, especially for kids, when it comes to trying to prevent these kinds of things?
Yeah, so one approach that we really try to go about using is really helping to equip parents and grandparents on how to talk to their youth. One program that we use here at Polk County is the Wisconsin Department of Health Services Small Talks program. So that program really highlights skill building for refusal skills to, abstain or choose a healthier alternative than consuming alcohol. And this program teaches the parents, caregivers, or grandparents to really speak to their youth beginning around age 8, because we are seeing a trend where youth are exposed much earlier than they might think. And so it's better to talk to them, kind of have that conversation. Like if you're watching a TV show, together, maybe you watch that 70s show with your child and you see that one of the characters uses alcohol, then you can have that conversation with that child, ask them, what did you think about that individual drinking? And then really keeping like an open dialogue. So you're really meeting them where they're at, and you can help them, understand how to choose a healthier alternative.
And going with that, before you start the conversation, we always advise that you really do your research and know about the products that you're talking about, and really hone in on maybe sharing some recent story that you may have seen in the news or statistics, so that youth know that you understand the issues of using these products.
Okay, and talking about products, when I was at the Apple Fest, the table that was set up had some paraphernalia, some water bottles, things like that, that the youth is using to hide their drugs, right? So, and probably nicotine products as well. Could you show us a few of those and
Yep.
explain how they use them?
Yep. So the project that Beverly is referring to is Yolanda and I partner to host an exhibit, which is our Hidden in Plain Sight exhibit. And it's usually set up as a mock teenage bedroom that allows parents to walk through our exhibit and identify various products that youth may be using as a way to hide their substance use, along with vaping products, and showing how similar they are to everyday items you may find in your youth's bedroom. So I can go first with our vaping products. So this right here is our smartwatch vape. So our watch, it looks exactly like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, and it will tell time. I just don't have it charged today. And it actually functions as a vaping device. So you'll pop this centerpiece out, and then they will inhale here, and this is their cartridge that they can put e-liquid in, or e-juice as it is referred to more commonly. And you'll inhale and then just put it back in, and you can hide it easily that way. And then one other product that is pretty stealthy is our vaping sweatshirt. So this is a hoodie. You wear it like a normal sweatshirt. However, a person who uses this device will plug a vape into one side of the hoodie strings and then inhale out the other. So those are just a couple new products that are on the market today that youth have access to.
Actually have time for more, so go ahead.
Yeah, and another product that we have as well is we actually have a Rubik's Cube. So this is, it looks pretty typical for, like if you just want to play that game where you're really kind of organizing, like, how am I going to win, and make sure all the sides match up with the colors. So this is a Rubik's Cube where you could actually use it as a grinder. So if you pop the top off, so it functions just as, normal, and then you take the top off, and you can see inside that you can grind either cannabis, marijuana, or tobacco products. So then also with this, you can also remove the other ends too. So then you have your container, so then you can also store substances in here as well. And then another product more for the alcohol side is, you might think that this is kind of a common hairbrush, but in reality, if you unscrew the bottom of the hairbrush, you can fill the brush with alcohol in it, and then that becomes a stealthy flask that youth can use.
Mm.
Getting back to the sweatshirt with the hood, the ends of those strings that are coming, are they designed that way for vaping? Because they're large. Normally you just have a strand, you have a knot at the end, and that's it.
Yep, that sweatshirt is called vaporware, which it is designed specifically for vaping use.
What would you like to see happen to make your projects even more successful?
I think for our alliance, it's really just gaining awareness of what exactly these tobacco and new e-cigarette devices are doing to our youth, and just bringing more awareness to our overall community members about how frequently they are used amongst our youth. And then we do have several different curriculum that we offer for prevention to really hone in on that education, starting the prevention process earlier within our youth in schools. So that's really what we're hoping to increase in our area.
Yeah, and then for my project, we're really working to increase that community collaboration, because we are firm believers that when you have that collaboration across many different sectors, so the youth, the parents, law enforcement, and schools and many other organizations, that's when you can have the largest change. So it's really important for us to keep building that, because when you equip local communities, that's when you'll have the best change, and that's what we're really hoping to be most effective with.
We're in the middle of all that, thinking about teenagers. Parents and other authority figures can try to do what they can do, but peers of those kids, peer pressure and that sort of thing would seem to be a really important way to understand both why they do use these products and why they might not use them, if a program was set up with the peer involvement as part of it.
Yep. We actually, with my alliance, we have a youth group called FACT, and it's through one of our schools in Polk County, and it is a peer-led prevention group. So my members do a lot of activities and prevention awareness around tobacco and vaping products for their youth in their school, and it has been a big success, and the students really appreciate it and like it for raising awareness, because they see their peers spreading this message, and it really connects more than connecting with an older person, my age, or a teacher, than if we were to share that message as well.
Do you find, Felicia and Yolanda, that children coming out of homes, are there more substance abuse with the families or the mother or the father, where they kind of come out of that, kind of that indoctrination? Have you seen that with your organization?
Yeah, so speaking to that, so there are different risk factor levels. So risk factors are kind of like what you mentioned, where you're looking at like different components of the social determinants of health. So like looking at, where they live, what they've been around, their environment, their status, their class, different things like that. So when the parent or guardian does use in the household, they are at a higher risk, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they will use substances. It's just something to really we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to support them, so then they don't turn to substance use.
And Yolanda, I think, I know that the program is still pretty new, but have you seen any success stories thus far?
Yeah, so my program is quite new here at the county, but with DFC, there's been many coalitions and programs that have been implemented, throughout the U.S. But looking right at Polk County, our greatest success was where we hosted, in collaboration with an apple orchard, we provided a scavenger substance use hunt in Polk County, and we really reached and impacted a lot of families. So our goal was to really build stronger family ties and building resiliency skills while providing, our substance use message. And we had many people participate. We had about 2,000 at that festival, and we've had pretty good reviews where, the whole family found fun. Initially it might kind of seemed a little cheesy, but by the end of it, they really enjoyed, participating in that scavenger hunt.
And that's where I met Helen, your director as well. And I was fascinated, and I had my 5 grandchildren there, and they loved this scavenger hunt. So it was very effective for sure. Well, let me ask you this here. We have maybe about 3-4 minutes left here. What can we do as a friend, family, grandparents, especially? We did talk about this earlier a bit, but just to reiterate, what can we do to help our youth?
Yeah, so one thing that grandparents can really do is to support the youth, kind of being that another foundation of support where they can go to ask questions and really kind of giving that open and honest answers. And one method that's really effective is that, like, if anyone in the household does have old prescription medications or any substances like alcohol, it would be really great to have those items either stored in a more secure place or locked up with either alcohol locks or refrigerator locks, or using prescription disposal bags like the Terra bags, which then it just limits, the amount of substances that are available to youth in case if there was any accidental exposure or anything like that.
Very helpful indeed. So, well, any other last minute thoughts? We're down to about a minute here. I think you girls have really covered a lot of information in a short bit of time, and I think it's very helpful. I've learned some new things, and I'm hoping that our viewers did too, and I hope that we can help support our youth in a better way after hearing what you had to say. So with that, David, thank you for your great questions. Elaine, I'm glad that you were here to join in as well. And a special thanks to Yolanda and Felicia for sharing their knowledge and doing what they're doing to help in this preventative cause. We are really grateful that you have taken your time to share and come to be on our program. So with that, thank you, viewers, for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Generations.